concave. I remember this from Simon, and when I worked with Simon Anderson, and one of the things, that he always said to me was, keep it simple, stupid. I'm Matthew Tatum with Kong Surfboards. Just wanted to let everybody know we have an Aku machine. Had it for a while. We do private labels, cut service, glass service, and custom Kong surfboards. Call us. But the first thing I'm obviously going to do is put in my numbers that I want. So I have a board right behind me that I actually have to create right now. So we'll do one. So it's 6'6", 21.5, 2 5/8. So this is kind of where I start, right? Turn on those guys just because I like it. It was already on.
Before you click OK on that, do you ever not auto adjust?
I do. Yeah, sometimes. Depends on, like, for instance, if I'm working with a file that I already have and I just need to make some changes, like, for instance, let's say I have an old round tail that I'm going to do, but I'm going to bump it out and kind of give it like a little hip at the foot section, right? Or pull the nose at that and change the rocker. I won't do the auto adjust, because the board's already there and I don't want it to start adjusting different little areas, right? But
you just,
for the creation part of it, like this from the start, I'm going to kind of leave them on and let them work, and then I'll go back and check my numbers.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like for this one, so now we got this board all set up. I can take this and just kind of kick off the original board real quick so we get here. So for instance, like this one, the guy wants it at 14 in the nose, right? So start from the front. And I like I said, I like to use these points like this. So now I got 14 in the nose. And then back here, he wants it to be about 15.75 in the tail. So that would be 15 3/4. He's already got a model, and of this particular board. It's a shell shape. But he's already got a model of it, and so he just kind of, this is like his updated version of it, and the one he's riding before is a swallowtail, and so he wants now the updated version of a round tail, but he likes his numbers. So yeah, a good surfer. So yeah, so this is this would be my outline. It's 21.5. I don't like, so I would turn on this guy right here, center mass. I want to see where that's at. And this right here, I want this moved up. And it moves that center mass up as well. See it moving? So I want that pretty much right in the center. So now it's at 21. And you can see what the board looks like now. It's at 14, and see by moving that forward, I fattened it, right? Yeah. So, and thinned it in the back. So I'm going to go back to my 14s. Now I got my center mass where I want it. Take this thing back out. And, I really like something that they did before. Volume distribution. So, yeah, show volume sections.
Yeah.
So I like that right there, because that allows you to kind of set up a balance on what you're doing. Yeah. So then I would go here and I would get my rockers. Our rocker numbers are in Aku and on the machine here, and we don't have that set up. But so like the 5 9/16, that's going to be a little much for where I'm at. So I like to do this first. Get the rocker adjustment, because I know it's already set at 1/4 in the thickness, right in the nose, but I want down around like maybe 4 3/4, and then the tail I'm going to come down. So I like to get my bottom rocker set.
Yeah.
Down around like a 2 3/8 area. because I'm not worried about the thickness, but so now I got my rocker set on the bottom, and then of course you can fix the glide if you want through this portion, making it push or making it not. So what I did first is, of course, got my outline, and we're just doing a quickie here.
Yeah.
The thing. Then I went into my rocker. The next thing I'm going to do is my thickness. So, and it's a little bit, so like the 5/16 area in the nose right there. And then, kind of pick this up to get away from the pregnancy, but I like to distribute. So it's going to be 1 11/16 at the foot. And then what I'm trying to do at this point is get my shape there, and then I can go back. I go for the volume that people want because they give me, like, for instance, the guy that's got this 6.6 is looking for right around, I think it was 37 liters.
Okay.
Is where he was at. And we're at 40. But I don't worry about that yet until I get all my numbers. And then I can adjust that, because you can do that. Obviously, you can get the volume through outline. You can get it through, how much you carry out to the rails. Same thing with the thickness. This is a pretty cool feature. I like what you guys did here. Before, you used to have to kind of put it on a background and just kind of roll through your concaves. But so back to what we were doing. So bring this back up, and I like to kind of see, like, for instance, to balance this thing is 1 11/16 in the front and at the foot mark, and 1 11/16 in the back at the foot mark. Kind of gives it like a nice little balance. You notice it doesn't get pregnant.
Yeah.
2 3/4. Is that what it was? That's 2 5/8. Okay, so that's where it goes. There. Now we're down a lot closer to where I want to be in liters.
Yep.
And that's my numbers now. And so I'm going to check my bottom, make sure my rockers are still there where I wanted it. And now, granted, I have, for my numbers when I'm doing this, especially if I'm building a board, I already know what I want from my rocker, especially if I can model it off of another board that I know has a really good rocker. So these numbers right here, the 1/16 and the 5/16, without sitting here doing that right now, I can get that rocker line that I want. And so, or if you're modeling a board, for instance, if you're, ripping a board that you've already done or something, then you'll have these numbers as well. So you can make those match all the way across, and I'll give you your rocker. And then the next, I'm going to go to the slices, right? And so if I want to add slices, like if I want to carry something all the way back, for example, the double concave, if I want to carry that all the way through the tail, then I'll put a slice back here and then set my concave at the foot mark, and it'll carry through, and then I can, soften it. And then, same thing with the nose and the center. So we're at the tail right here. So I got these turned on. I think that's B. There we go. So I personally like for that concave to be not necessarily in the center of the board. And I'm just making this board for this. This is not going to be the file I make, by the way.
Okay.
Unless you want to, use this file.
That looks good.
So this is like a 3/16 concave. I remember this from Simon, and when I worked with Simon Anderson, and one of the things, that he always said to me was, keep it simple, stupid. Just kiss it. That's it. Kiss it. Do a little bit. Nothing crazy unless you're trying to be crazy. But as far as like this performance board, keep these caves in the low, simple area, and I think it'll be better. Same thing with this one. And I love to use this guy right here all the time, the horizontal line feature.
Okay.
That'll give me this, right? And then I can go D, run around these, right? That guy right there. And then now I'll know, how much concave I have set in there for this guy. which it's at 0 right now. And so if I want some single here, what I do is I don't mess with that one, as I'll bring this guy down.
Mm.
Right. And see, that gives me that.
Yeah.
Concave there. And then I can measure that concave, obviously, and get all that, get those numbers to exactly what I want. Right now, it's an 1/8 of concave in the center. And then the nose. Depends on what the surfer, wants, or what you're trying to get out of the model. But usually on this particular board, I'm going to kind of leave the nose flat. If anything, I'll pull it down just a tad to give me just a little bit of single in the nose. And that's, depending on how I want the board to ride. So you get a little bit of single right there, and it is down. It's a 16th. It's minute.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 3/16 double concave. And we have let's see what that guy is. And this one should be an 1/8. And then this one should be a 16th. So nice flow, right?
Yeah.
And what I like about you guys' stuff is it'll flow that algorithms for you in those flows, and then you can go back and adjust those, once you get it, especially with the new feature you have here, because you see where your flows are.
Yeah.
So see, there's no concave out here, and it's mostly right through the center right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where your fin would be out here facing that direction, basically an 1/8 or something off the stringer, or off the rail, and then, and then your distance in with your toe. So, I like that. And you can see the double concave where the single leaves off and where the double picks up, right? So it's like single, and then the double starts to basically drain off right here. And that's, the cool features. Another one good about that you guys have, as far as this kind of shaping, you can take that and move that concave and push it back out, which some people like to do. Push that guy back out toward the rail. And I'm sorry, I don't have my mouse here. I'm literally just using the buttons on my laptop.
Yeah.
So
No, you're fine.
Well, that could be a lot faster.
Yeah.
But you see how I did? I just moved those out and actually opened. So now it's not so heavy on the stringer. It doesn't come off, and then you'll basically have foam around your stringer right there, so you don't wind up having a stringer showing, and then that becomes a problem later in glass and or through longevity as a stringer. Everything starts to break down around the stringer. So sometimes leaving a little foam there just for that, and then move those concaves out.
Nice.
Yeah. And so that's that guy. Flip it over. You see a couple of hitches right there. I see one right there.
Yeah, the top rail.
Yeah, but I'm not done with that. So then I'll go over here, and we basically have our rail slices, right? And so we've already set our concave, and this is where we adjust our rails. This particular one, I like that back half. I have these rail numbers specifically on my models. So, somebody that's doing that, I like to connect this one right here for continuous and get that more of a straight up. There you go. And so, see how I just took that and tilted that right there? Because before it was, and then my tuck, see how over here on this side, see where it's got an angle going. Yeah. And I kind of don't really care for that so much. I really want that edge to be flat and or outward, It could even be that is what I like a little more. But for the tail, I kind of like it to be straight up and down, because then as I'm shaping it, I can crown it if I need to, right? And a lot of stuff I'll leave just as a shaper. The machine is just a tool. It's just no different from my planer in that aspect. And so there are some areas I like to do. For instance, I like to get the rail pretty close to where I want it to be. And then what I like to do is pull that rail down, or even leave it boxy, depending on, who's going to be riding it or whatever the case is. Like for this one, I would take this one, continue that, peel that in a little bit. That's almost probably a little more tuck than I would want. To bring that out, bring that in. So basically in the process of it, this, you see what I'm doing. I just basically, so what I did is my outline, and then this is going to make a little box here. Yeah, there we go. And then I like to keep that hard rail on these performance boards so to get the release.
Yep.
And then same thing there. I would take this one, just move this in a little bit and pull that over and then bring that down. That's kind of high for me. Yeah. And then you can even move the apex down a little bit, which I think is one of the features you were going to show me about. One of the newer features is the center apex there. Yeah. And then, so now I can see, you can see with the new feature that y'all have, you can see this line, right? Which before we had a kink right here, right?
Yep.
We went to that center and we pulled that out. Now I'm going to get it just a little better. And then this guy here, one down here, and then one on the side. Pulls that rail down. Now I got a nice round rail with a releasing edge right down. And so I really like that a little better. Same thing with the tail, little harder edge, right? Water off. And then the nose, it does have an edge right there. And I'll clean that. That's for this performance board. Jeez, I don't know what's going on. There's like 15 cop cars went. So, yeah. And then, so yeah, so then there's, you know, it's all blended like that. Depending on how you want it, you could actually add, you know, sometimes you can add a slice right there, right here in the front, and, you know, continue that tuck all the way through. But that's literally something I can do with my screen. And I have my little tuck measurement that I put on it with my tool. So if I want the nose to be tucked, some of my lower performance boards, I'll kind of round that rail a little bit, give it a little more stability, a little softer, and not so much release on that. But the performance boards, I want this to give a little more release. So we'll go through real quick. Get that. It looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. And that looks pretty good. Yeah. So got that. That's that blue line right there shows you the center of the board, and this shows you the rail difference. And so, well, not the center of the board, but your drop line.
Nice.
So now we got it cleaned up a little bit. This right here, I still don't like that. You can see
just a pinch. Yeah.
And that's probably a height thing in the rail, but if you bring it, but even though it's a software thing, probably not a software thing, but you know, just a little difference, I definitely would work on getting that lined up. But
yeah,
I would do that. This is cool, but I would probably come in here to sliced and or curved. I like the curves a lot. This right here lays it over for you, and then you can see where your tuck lines are, and you can see, like, for instance, like this one, if you look down through there, you can see the pinch right there.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then another way you can see that, get into the wireframe, and you can see the lines, and the lines will kind of tell you, because if you're messed up, they'll all start to do like something. But see, like I was telling you, it looks like it might be a little ism, because the lines look really good and straight there, or not straight, parabolic. Curves. And what do y'all have now? Yay. So yeah, you would have to go back and go to your slices. We see that in the center, and be willing to bet it's probably this guy right here. Bring that back over. You see that?
Yeah.
On now. It looks really good now, and it's just on there. But and I would probably, if I was going to do that, I'd probably bring it a little more, or even bring this one up.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah. And that nose right there is a lot blady. So one of the things you could do for that to kind of get that chubbed up a little bit, drop your point right here, keep your 14, and now you can bring your nose right and scoot that up and get that just where it's not so daggone blady.
Yeah, but you kept your width there at 1 foot the same though.
Yeah. So and then what I do is now that I have that, you could click this right here. Save. It wants me to name it. We'll call it the I don't know, what's your last name? All right, let's call it Nick.
Yeah, okay.
There you go. Damn, now it should have done it.
Yeah.
And it's on now. So if I kill this, bam.
Nice.
See, now I can take this and drag this out, and I can do like round it on that nose or whatever I want. But now I can actually take this, and you can see I can match that up. Sorry if I'm like jamming in on your screen with my face, but I can't see.
But why do you do it that way?
Well, because the machine basically, what I've found is the more points you have, the more the machine kind of uses those. If we're like, say for example, I have a nice, can you see me?
Yeah.
Say for example, I have a nice curve here, right? And then I put and then that point can kind of almost create a point. You know what I mean? Where the curve.
Oh, yeah.
And so this creates the algorithm, for the cut path, right? And it basically just makes it really smooth. And so I don't have a kink. For example, if I wanted to, let's just say I just did this on a squash tail the other day. What I wanted was a hip right here, right?
Yeah.
So I put that point in right there, and then I drew in the tail. This is going to be a round tail. The other one was a squash. And then I turned these off from continuous right here, right? And then I put a break in here, right? And if you can see that barely, it creates a pivot right here.
Yep.
Right? So that's where that break's going to start. And it creates a hip in there. And so, if you want that, I would leave that there so that my hip is solidified, and then I can adjust this to whatever I want it. Right? But I don't like, for traditional or even smooth lines, as you can see, I don't like that in there because now I have a really smooth outline on that.
Yeah, no bumps coming off the machine.
Nope. Yeah, and so, we're talking minor stuff and coming off the machine. You're trying to solidify something and create a shape that you can run with, and continually make that shape the way you want it. And you also got to configure how are you going to scale this thing, because you can't make a 510 for the whole world. You know what I mean? It has to be scalable. This is a 6.6, but I would say, for instance, if I really like this board and the way it came out and the shape and everything, I go, oh, okay, cool. I can run a model on this. So maybe this board would be, maybe 510 to 6.8. And that would kind of be where I modeled this particular one. And then if somebody wanted something smaller, I would probably, guide them to one of my round tails that, have smaller features. Yeah, because you can see this one's volume forward. A little bit. It's kind of well spaced. But getting back to where we were in the bay here. So you can see now we got it nice and tuned up, and it looks good.
Yep.
And so I like that feature a lot. One thing I just noticed, curves. Yeah, so my tuck line is there. But because I use that guy right there as one of my kind of shaping features, so to say, because, and it might show up different on my other computer, but see, you can look at these right here and you can see if there's any kinks, and if they're going to be there, they're going to be where your slices are. But yeah, you can come in here and, for example, like these, and look at these and see if there's any kinks in there, and that'll help you. And it also gives you an idea of your tuck based off of, where your outline is on that. And so I like that feature a lot because I can see if there's any kinks in there, and a kink there is definitely going to show up on the machine if it's showing up in the software. And that's something that probably people should know if they're designing without a machine. If they're like, oh yeah, that won't show up. It's going to show up.
Yeah.
And I've had, so using all the features here is important, and using them all to get a nice round curve or a hard edge, whatever you want, even if it's like a squash tail, for example. I use templates on my squash tails, right? So I try to get them as close as possible on the machine. Put something like this right here, kick that guy in. And then so that's what I would do for a squash, is I would go ahead. Sorry that did that. That wasn't supposed to, that was weird. Okay. Yeah, that was weird. Okay, so yeah, I'd bring that bad boy, into wherever I want it using my 5 and 5/8. So probably wind up going a little bigger because I like that size. Bump that out to the edge where it won't go anymore. And so now I've created the same board, same rocker, same outline, minus the fact that now it can be a swallowtail. Right.
Yeah.
And so let's just say that rocker, that outline, and everything works really great. And, everybody kind of likes what they like. So they call and it's like, hey man, that board's sick, but I love the way it rides. Can I get it in a swallowtail? Yeah. Same board.
Right.
And so, that's what allows you to do all your other tails. And then, I use this a lot, this feature, even on my 41-inch monitor. I really like to use this feature right here, the zoom fit, because that can allow for other things like bringing that up, picking that bad boy back on. Let's find it. S. There it is. And now I can make this guy. It wasn't, and get in there. Turn that off. Where's my line? There we go. Bringing this one down. Go bringing that one up. Definitely harder without the mouse.
Yeah.
And so essentially, you can see it. I don't have to finish it, but you can see now that I've created a squash tail, and I would make those corners a little more rounder right there. So yeah, this looks like a pretty nice board.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that thing's sick actually.
I'll call Rob B and be like, we got it in, it's done.
Yeah, little round tail double concave. That's a sick little board.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would this would not be a final, obviously, but I would go through and make sure that the numbers are all correct.
Yeah.
And that, that's another important thing. The machine does absolutely what you tell it to on here. So if your numbers aren't what you think they are, or when you start making adjustments here and there, as you notice, we moved that volume forward. So did the as I moved that volume forward on where the wide point was, it also moved the nose way out and brought the tail way in.
Yeah.
And that's the feature you can turn off in the beginning, but that's also the feature you want. But then you can actually go back manually and put those where you want them. So, and as far as balance on this board, I mean, it's pretty daggone balanced. 24.8% in the front, 24.3% and or vice versa. And then, total volume, most of it is 51% of it's in the middle. Really, really balanced.
Nice.
He's right at the CG mark. So you see the CG line. You can change that a little. Not much. And that also changes this. Take that back to 14. Kick this back 3/4. So now we're back to where we were, and I moved the CG just a tad.
Okay, nice.
Yep. So I like all these features. And then you can also look, I like this too.
Yeah.
This guy. Yeah. So now, yeah, you can look at your rocker and see how the board lays, because you know how, like, people pick them up and hold them, right, and they want to see the rocker and they turn it around and they hold it down vertical and look at the rocker, and this is kind of simulating that. So it gives you like a little flow of that rocker. Yeah, you can kind of do that in the bay here if you just kind of whittle your bay through, you know, and you take this board and
Yeah, and yeah. Grab it from the tail or whatever and just kind of
go half a 180, something like that. And if you wanted to do it like that, and then you could also take a picture of that too, you know, to show somebody your rail profile.